Hi everyone, another day, another handheld, with this one being the GameForce Ace. The Ace is GameForce's second handheld after the Qi, which was released way back in 2021. The Ace is currently available for $199, though started at a pre-order campaign back in September 2023 at the pre-order price of $159. With that sounding like a great deal, it is worth noting that GameForce also announced and opened pre-orders for another handheld at the time called the Indie, though that seems to have vanished and so is likely cancelled. The Ace was originally due to come out in late October 2023, so has seen a few months delays, but I thankfully now received my order a few days ago. In terms of specs, the Ace comes with the RK3588s, which is the first handheld to come equipped with it. In terms of emulation, it should be able to handle the likes of PSP and Dreamcast at full speed and play some but not all of the Gamecube, Wii and PS2 catalogues, along with a few surprises along the way. There's two RAM configurations here, available at both 8 and 12 gigs, with the upgrade cost of around $40 at retail. Otherwise, we've got a 1080p 5.5-inch IPS display, a pretty huge 7200 mAh battery, but with a chunky weight of around 350 grams. The Ace ships with Android 13, but mine didn't come with the Play Store enabled, so setup has been a little bit of a pain. Straight out of the box, or rather the included carry case, as there is no retail box, which felt very GameForce, and the carry case's bright green inside reminded me of the case they included with the Qi, which was a neat throwback. Anyway, on that note, I was pretty surprised with just how bland and generic the design of the Ace is, especially when you look back on the Qi and how that had the design and colour scheme of a Gameboy Advance that had just way too many energy drinks. The Switch-Lite candy bar design was obviously an inspiration here, and the Ace has a very Switch-Lite look to it, though feels more bulky and certainly more weighty in the hands. There's nothing offensive or out there with the Ace's design at all. We've got the micro HDMI output as well as the volume, power and shoulder buttons on the top alongside analog triggers. Underneath we've got the USB-C charging port, headphone jack, micro SD card slot and speaker grills, and at the back we've got an outlet for the surprisingly quiet fan. The shell design feels understated, it's pretty portable and certainly does its job though, which almost doesn't make it feel like a GameForce handheld compared to their previous everything but the kitchen sink approach, but that doesn't take anything away from the Ace itself, it's just a completely different approach. Speaking of different approaches, the Ace certainly made me feel spoiled when it comes to just how good the setup experiences of recent Android handhelds have been. The Ace literally boots straight into Android 13 with no hand-holding or Play Store enabled, and mine had a couple of Chinese apps installed too. So the setup process was a lot longer than any recent Android handheld I've purchased by a long stretch, to the point where the Ace simply isn't a turn-on-and-go gaming experience from new. To GameForce's credit though, they are very keen to work with the community and actively want custom firmwares available, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. When it comes to controls, the GameForce Ace unfortunately does have some issues. Starting with the positives, the face buttons are absolutely fine. They're not going to be anyone's favourite face buttons on any handheld ever, but they are certainly responsive enough and are easy enough to press without any form of button fatigue, even when button mashing. The D-pad, despite it looking like it's been designed for a clamshell device with how its flat appearance actually has quite a bit of curve inwards, does take a bit of getting used to, and that inward curve stops it from being super precise or overly sensitive, but it's certainly not a game breaker, well, unless you need a high level of precision input, that is. The shoulder buttons are on the clicky loud side, but they are functional, and for those like me who have their RetroArch quit option set to start and select, you may need a bit of adjustment period where your palm doesn't accidentally press against them during play, but on the whole, the D-pad and the face buttons sit in that middle area of not being terrible but not being particularly amazing either. Where I have had some issues are with the joysticks and analog triggers, but to try and visualise these the best way possible, we'll have to jump into Android. So the joysticks travel are particularly restrictive, with full diagonal movement being all over the place. The arc draws almost a perfect pentagon for both joysticks, which as you can imagine, not only is annoying in-game, but even mapping the controls can be a frustrating experience due to these extreme angles. And the triggers don't fare too much better, unfortunately. Although this may be an extreme case as my R2 trigger arrived not even registering, but somehow in the process of simply taking it apart and putting it back together, it did start registering. But you'll notice that if I try and place the tiniest bit of pressure on the triggers that I can, the R2 will register at around the 7 to 10% range, while the L2 registers at between the 25 to 30% range. You'll also notice that the difference in ranges varies by quite a bit, and although this is only an issue when you need dynamic input from the triggers, it can really hamper the gaming experiences for the games that do need it, so I thought it was certainly worth pointing out here. And with that, paired with another frustrating controller mapping exercise in some emulators, as they may register it as a button over an axis, depending on its input it receives at the time, hampers what otherwise would be a fair enough control experience. Anyway, I'll cut some emulation footage now before summarising back up at the end. So, I must admit to having very mixed feelings about the GameForce Ace. Its joysticks and triggers are certainly currently holding it back, and the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro is certainly going to be an easier out-of-the-box Android experience. But the Ace has most of the fundamentals there. It is a smartly designed handheld on the whole, and feels very much to me very similar to one of those older Odroid devices, in that it feels so close to being something new and exciting, which ultimately paved the way to a sea of clones that we saw a few years ago. I wouldn't recommend the Ace as your first device, but if you're a tinkerer over a retro handheld enthusiast, I do think there's potential here. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching.